Last time we have seen some of the aspects of what the Canto is calling the parable of the search for the soul. The parable as a kind of a designed language describing something very specific in the context of what Savitri is going to do. That is the connotation or the phrase parable or the search for the soul in Savitri. It is not in the sense of the parables told by Christ, the stories he was narrating to people who had simple mind and simple understanding of things. This is a deeper parable connected with the search of the soul of Savitri. Savitri, who herself is the divine incarnate, the Supreme Mother incarnate, and she is going to search the soul, which means that she has taken a human birth, and in the human birth she has to first find the soul. Let us first read the relevant parts before we go into some of these details. As in the vigilance of the sleepless night, through the slow, heavy-footed, silent hours, repressing in her bosom its load of grief, she sat staring at the dumb tread of time and the approach of ever-nearing fate. A summons from her being summit came, a sound, a call that broke the seals of night. Above her brows, where will and knowledge meet, a mighty voice invaded mortal space. It seemed to come from inaccessible heights, and yet was intimate with all the world, and knew the meaning of the steps of time, and saw eternal destinies, changeless scene, filling the far prospect of the cosmic gaze. As the voice touched, her body became a stark and rigid golden statue of motionless trance. A stone of God lit by an amethyst soul. Around her body's stillness, all grew still. Her heart listened to slow, measured beats. Her mind, renouncing thought, heard and was mute. Why camest thou to this dumb, death-bound earth? This ignorant life beneath indifferent skies, died like a sacrifice on the altar of time. O Spirit, O immortal energy, if it was to nurse grief and helpless heart, or with heart careless eyes, awake thy doom. Arise, O soul, and vanquish time and death. That is the command the voice is bringing. Arise, O soul, and vanquish time and death. Now, we already have here something very deep, something very significant, something of a far-reaching consequence in the yogic life of Savitri, which is about to begin. Her life begins with a summons coming from the summit of her being, from the Supreme Self of hers. The summons is coming to the human Savitri, who is the part of that Supreme Savitri herself. So it is one Savitri who is addressing to the other Savitri. She has taken a mortal birth, and it is the voice of the immortal birth which is guiding her, initiating her rather, on this yogic journey which is about to begin. Now there are a couple of things which may be sort of pertinent if we are going to read in Savitri the yogic life of the mother. Here in Savitri, Savitri is receiving the summons from her being's summit. Did the mother receive any command like that, any summons to begin her yogic life? It may be sort of foolish on our part to ask that question, but it has a certain pertinence also if we are going to link up Savitri with the mother. The mother never received any command, any summons. She was born already with that yogic consciousness. It had only to flower out and grow and get into action. There was no question of her receiving the command. Command, to a certain extent, in a certain context, was received by Shivendu, but not by the mother. She was constantly in communion with her central being. She had identified herself with the Supreme Lord right from the beginning. And whatever had to happen in her life was only a question of unfolding of things in a yogic way. But in Savitri receiving the summons is to be seen not in a temporal context. It has to be seen in the ageless context, in the context of the work Savitri has been doing through the ages, life after life, since the beginning of the earth. Whenever and wherever there was a possibility of the manifestation of the Supreme, she was always present. And it is in that context that the Savitri is receiving the summons, the command, the imperative that she must set herself on the yogic path. Yogic path for what purpose? That is also defined uniquely, distinctly, to vanquish time and death. To vanquish time and death. So the entire context of Savitri's yoga is winning the victory over time and death, Kala and Yama. It is over them she has to win the victory. And to win this victory, therefore, the death of Satyavan becomes a yogic pretext, an occasion that she can confront, meet face to face death and conquer him in the occult battle. So that is the purpose of the initiation of Savitri on the yogic path. A summons from her being summit came, a sound, a call that broke the seals of night, N capital, under tamasa, the darkness, the primordial darkness, and the seals of that primordial darkness, they had to be broken. So, Savitri's yoga is founded in a very specific manner for breaking the seals of the night, for conquering time and death. And whatever she has to do, she will do in that context, in relationship with that. Above her brows, here, where will and knowledge meet, a mighty voice invaded mortal space. A mighty voice, the voice of the Supreme Savitri herself, is coming and making an impact on her forehead, where knowledge and will meet. The Ajna Chakra is the place where the impact is first made. Knowledge to know the steps of time, will to conquer time and death. So again, the functionality of the arrival of the voice on the forehead center, Ajna Chakra, where the command is received, where the command comes, becomes very pertinent. In fact, the poetry of Savitri is yogically very tight, very coherent, very functional also. Every word, every phrase has a kind of an interconnectedness with her yogic work. Above her brows, where will and knowledge meet, a mighty voice invaded mortal space. The immortal voice is invading the mortal space. Savitri's Ajna Chakra has got kindled, awoken. Now, we must also appreciate one very important thing in this context. The book 7 is called the Book of Yoga. This is a book of yoga describing Savitri's yoga. It is not your yoga, mine yoga, not even Ashwapati's yoga, not even Shivendu's yoga. It is specifically the yoga of the mother. Our yoga will be of a different type, depending upon the preparation and indeed of our soul. So let us not be under the illusion that well, let us follow the book of yoga. No, it is not meant for us. It is for Savitri alone, because it is she who is going to conquer time and death. We are not in a position to conquer time and death. Even if our soul becomes extremely powerful, it is still too small to conquer time and death. It is only the soul of Savitri who, after receiving the full power of the Supreme Savitri, who can conquer time and death. So what we are going to see is how Savitri is going to proceed on the yogic path of us, and that is the only way of our trying to get to some extent into the spirit of Savitri's yoga. And in the process, something might awaken in us and put us also on our own individual yogic path. That distinction is important. So when a mighty voice invades mortal space, it is again in the context of Savitri. It seemed to come from inaccessible heights. The poet is saying it seems, but actually it is coming. For the mortal eye, the place may be invisible, and therefore he is telling it to us that it seems to come from some inaccessible heights, and yet was intimate with all the world. The purpose of that voice coming is again for the benefit of this world, for the good of this world. It has that warmth, that intimacy with its creation. Something has to happen here. The conquest of time and death has to happen here for this creation, not for Savitri. Savitri is immortal already. She doesn't need that victory for herself. That victory is for this creation. And therefore it is intimate with all the world, and knew the meaning of the steps of time. Knew the meaning of the steps of time. The 3 steps of time, the past, the present, the future. That voice knows what was there in the past, what is going to happen today. Savitri's husband is going to die today. It knows that. What is going to happen tomorrow? The new manifestation arising out of that death. It knows all these things. And therefore contextually, the coming of the voice is to build up the entire temporal force to achieve that result. And saw eternal destinies, changeless scene, filling the far prospect of the cosmic gaze. That is what this voice sees. The cosmic gaze is filled with its look. In the steps of time, it knows what is going to happen. And the voice touched her body, Savitri's body. Savitri is an extremely good recipient of this tremendous force. She is not shaken. She is not shattered. Her adhara is powerful enough, stable enough to receive the full force of the invading voice. And the voice touched her body, became a stark and rigid golden statue of motionless trance. A stone of God lit by an amethyst soul. Now again, this is very powerful mystic poetry with all the deep occult symbolism present everywhere. A stone of God. Savitri is still like a stone, marble, beautiful, bright, well lit, stable. Stone of God, lit by an amethyst soul. Amethyst. Why amethyst? Why not sapphire? Why not emerald? Why not diamond? Well, the poet is a yogi. The poet has vast knowledge of things. The poet is also well learned in Greek mythology. He knows the connotations of these Greek mythological symbolisms. Amethyst. Amethyst. Means not taste, get drunk. One who does not get drunk, that is what the word amethyst means. Well, there is a story, but we can see that thing separately about amethyst. Amethyst is a stone of which the cups were made, and the Greek gods and the Greek heroes drank wine from that cup made of amethyst. The belief being that whatever quantity of wine you would drink, you would not get drunk with it. Now therefore, why is the poet here referring a stone of God lit by an amethyst soul, when the divine power is going to pour into the soul, when the divine energy, when the divine ananda, the divine ecstasy is going to pour into the soul, it is not going to get drunk with it. It can keep on receiving inexhaustibly, more and more continuously of that divine power. That is already the quality of Savitri's soul, its receptivity, that it keep on receiving the divine splendor which is pouring into her soul. That is the kind of a stone Savitri has already become, amethyst soul, lit by the amethyst soul, a stone of God, which is a golden statue of motionless trance. It is under that conditions, the yogic knowledge, yogic initiation is pouring into the soul of Savitri. Around her body stillness, all grew still. Around her body stillness, not only Savitri, but the entire place. The hut in which Savitri is dwelling, the rooms, the kitchen, the hermitages around, the ashramas of the rishis, the forest, the trees, the surroundings, everything is charged with that presence now. There is a sudden change in the atmosphere the moment that voice comes and touches Savitri. Those who are perceptive, those who have that spiritual sense, they immediately feel the difference that something else has happened here. The rishis in the forest They realize that some different power has come down here and is entering into their life. Around her body stillness, all grew still. Her heart listened with slow, measured beats. Her mind, renouncing thought, heard and was mute. It fell silent. She is in the state of silent mind, where nothing of her who is going to disturb the invading voice, affect the invading power. And what does the voice say? Why camest thou to this damn death-bound earth? Tell me, what is the purpose of your coming here? You are standing here helpless. You are stricken with grief. The affliction is present in your soul. But is it for that purpose that you have come here? Yes, the grief's self has become calm. It can receive the command. But now it has prepared itself to get going on the yogic path. This ignorant life beneath indifferent skies, tied like a sacrifice on the altar of time, are you a creature who is now tied to the stakes, ready to be sacrificed to the gods? You are not here for that purpose. You are here to conquer time and death. Tied like a sacrifice on the altar of time. O Spirit, O immortal energy, if it was to nurse grief in a helpless heart, or with heart tearless eyes, awake thy doom. You have not come here for that purpose. It is a rhetorical question. Savitri, you have not come here to accept grief and sorrow and suffering. Get rid of it and awake and be prepared to vanquish time and death. That is the command which is coming from our Summit's self, Summit's being. Now, this is also poetically put in a very powerful, in a very artistic manner. Let us read this command which Savitri is saying. Why camest thou to this damned, death-bound earth? This ignorant lie beneath indifferent skies, tied like a sacrifice at the altar of time. O Spirit, O immortal energy, if it was to nurse grief in a helpless heart, or with heart tearless eyes, awake thy doom. Arise, O soul, and vanquish time and death. So this is the command in 10 lines. Savitri is receiving. The voice has touched the forehead, her will and power, knowledge, they got awakened, and she has now to get ready. Now let us see the poetry of these few lines. Very interesting, very powerful. The poet, the yogi as a poet, as an artist, has brought out several shades into this brief description. Why camest thou to this dumb, death-bound earth? This line is heavy in syllables. Why camest thou to this dumb, death-bound earth. You have, in a simple line like this, metrically, and in a very unusual manner, three spondees. Why camest thou to this down, death-bound earth? It comes with a kind of a thrust, with a force. The voice is speaking straight away with a tremendous force, with the full impact of the spondees coming in the line. Then this, to some extent, it is softened in the next line. This ignorant life beneath indifferent skies, the line is kind of expanding out slowly. This ignorant life, you have here an amp, an Amethyst, again an I am, an Amethyst. The line is moving forward, climbing up. This ignorant life beneath indifferent skies, in contrast with why camest thou to this damn death-bound earth? The meter, the rhythm, they bring the full force of the voice, tied like a sacrifice on the altar of time, tied like, it starts with a heavy syllable, tied like a turkey, a sacrifice. You are here and I am, sacrifice, on the altar, an Amethyst of time, again an Amethyst. See, the variation of the meter brings a sort of a rhythmic force into the entire passage. O Spirit, O immortal energy, again, I am, Pyrrhic, I am, Pyrrhic. If it was to nurse grief in a helpless heart, basically again I am, iambic line with a dip of a talkie in between. Or with hard, tearless eyes awake thy doom. Arise, O soul, and vanquish time and death. This line is a perfect iambic line. All the 5 feet are iambic. Arise, O soul, and vanquish time and death. The rhythm is consistent. It is kind of beating. It must happen, must happen, must happen, must happen. Arise, O soul, and vanquish time and death. So that is the assertive nature of the voice itself here. Now, there is one more point which may be of some interest. This line, what we have here in the first edition of Savitri is, or with hard tearless eyes, awake thy doom. Tearless eyes, awake thy doom. This is what we have here. The latest edition of Savitri makes this awake as await, or with thy heart tearless eyes, await thy doom.